the Senate will be introducing legislation. And one of the key concerns with that is the provisions around family immigration. And that impacts our Asian American community the most. Of the 4.3 million waiting right now for visas, near half of that is of Asian people. So a lot of our families who are waiting to be reunited with siblings or parents are waiting because there is a major backlog. And so the legislation that the Senate side are looking to propose is going to eliminate those two key provisions from the immigration law, which will, in essence, strip all the opportunities for families to reunite under those two categories. In terms of spousal visas that are still very much part of the legislation, but those other two provisions will be stripped. And that's what the proposal is. And so it's a very big concern for our communities. And so we are in Ohio for this event as part of 9 other events all across the country, including the state of California, Illinois, Texas, Georgia, and Florida, hosting this event right now because we're trying to raise visibility and concerns around these particular provisions in the family immigration side of the legislation to make sure that our congressional representatives and our senators are aware of the importance of this issue for our communities. So as far as this event is concerned, it's timely. There's a lot of activities been going on. The Greater Cleveland Partnership just recently on Tuesday hosted an event about the impact, the economic impact of immigration. And one of the unique things about our communities is that we have a very large percentage of our families who run small businesses. And those small businesses are often staffed by relatives. And so that family immigration policy is very critical to that because, you know, even when I was growing up and my parents owned a grocery store, they sponsored my uncle and his family to come to the United States, and they were very important to running our grocery store. So, and I think that story is very much reminiscent of a lot of communities and a lot of individuals here who, you know, rely on family members to help with that initial business. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to our speakers today. And our first speaker is going to be talking about giving you an overview and the update in terms of what's the situation here with regards to family immigration policies here in the Greater Cleveland area. And that's Jayashree Bidari, and she's going to speak. She's an attorney. She'll talk briefly about this.
Thank you. We are all familiar with the backlogs, and we have all experienced the backlogs. I immigrated from India, and the Asian countries, which is China, India, Philippines, are facing a huge backlog in all the family-based immigrant categories. The discussion now is to bring new immigration reform and try to accommodate the different factors and create a new immigration laws that is supposed to help the economy and the people who are already here. But what is being ignored is all the people who are abiding the law and waiting in the visa lines. There is a discussion to eliminate the categories of married children and siblings of the U.S. citizen, which adds up to about 90,000 visas per year. And this is very alarming. What one group of discussion says is that we have employment-based visa categories which are backlogged. These are the employees who are already in the U.S., and we need to let them have the visa quota from this family-based visa petitions. This brain versus blood dichotomy is false. When you look at Silicon Valley, half of the entrepreneurs, half of the businesses which were started by immigrants who had come through family-based petitions. If you look at eBay, Intel, Yahoo, Google, the founders or the co-founders in some cases, they all came to United States on family-based petitions. These were not here as skilled workers. And if you want to attract skilled workers and you take away this family category, the incentive to immigrate to United States will be very limited. Because who would want to come to a country where you cannot reunite with your family at some point? Families are crucial to the social and economic incorporation of newcomers. One of the things you see is when the immigrants come, the families kind of take over and they nurture them, they help them, they advise them, and they even loan them money to start business. And the families kind of take care of each other. And in return, these businesses create jobs in the local economy. The family-based immigration has a positive impact on the business development and community improvement. In some cities like Baltimore, Boston, Detroit, Dayton, they have launched programs to attract immigrants and promote their economic potential through ethnic neighborhoods like Little Italy, Chinatown, and so forth. Immigrants who come to this country on a family-based visa tend to move up the socioeconomic ladder. When the siblings are already here and they have the know-how of how things work in the United States, and the siblings from abroad come, they kind of guide the younger siblings or the siblings who have just come from abroad to integrate into this society. And the brothers and sisters of US citizens who immigrate under the family fourth preference visa category tend to experience high rate of self-employment and high earning growth. And if you even compare the skilled workers versus the family-based immigrants who have come here, in terms of their earning potential, initially it might appear that the skilled workers are making more money, but it's in the end, in about a decade or 15 years, you see that it's the immigrants who are moving up the economic ladder. They are creating jobs, they are opening new businesses, they're expanding. So we need to move away from this false brain versus blood dichotomy. We need to make provisions where we can accommodate both. And fixing the family-based immigration system is important. Family unification must remain the fundamental policy of the US immigration. That's how it has been for all these decades, and that's how it should remain. The current backlog of family-based immigrants must be cleared, and law-abiding families must be reunited in a humane and reasonable timeline. The spouses and minor children of legalized immigrants must be issued visa at the time the primary applicant gets his green card. The unused and unclaimed family-based visas must be recaptured, and a mechanism to ensure that the future unused visas are not wasted must be created. The numerical cap of a family-based immigration must be revisited and brought in line with the current realities. You know, the last time when they set up this numerical system, it was in 1990. And it's time for us to readjust these numerical categories. And last but not least, USCIS must be given more resources. You know, what happens is they bring in a new immigration law, and then it's the same set of officers who have to handle these caseloads, which is what results in another backlog in adjudication. So USCIS also should receive more resources to keep up with the changes in the new immigration law. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayashree. At this point, I'd like to present to you community members who have personally been affected by the immigration policies in the backlog. And so at this point, I'd like to have Bessie Schiroky from the Filipino community, also a member of the Filipino Nurses Association of Ohio, to briefly share her personal story.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Michael, for being the eyes and ears of the Asian community. I have known Michael now for a few years. He had worked with PNAO before, and I really thank her for all of his energy and effort in advancing the interests of the Asian community. I came to this country in 1977, and I became a citizen in 1986. Actually, I almost was sent home when my working visa expired, but luckily I was already married to my husband, who originally is from Germany. And so I was petitioned by my hospital under the quota of the Germans. Okay, so that way I was able to get my green card and became a legal immigrant here. So anyway, as soon as I became a citizen in 1986, I petitioned for my family in the Philippines. My parents, I had no problem. Like in a few months, they were able to come, they were interviewed, and they were able to get their green cards. But I petitioned at the same time for my brother and sister. Right now, it took more than 26 years for the family of my sister to be able to get the visas, to come here. So they arrived last July, from 1986 to July 2012. So it took more than 26 years. So actually, with all the news that I'm, hearing and seeing in TV, it's really, I thought it's so unfair that for people who are going through the legal system, it's taking forever, to be able to come. And also, it's a shame that the productive years of those people we are getting is almost over. Like my sister and the husband, they came and now they are in their early 50s. I thought the most productive years of their lives are kind of, almost over. It's a shame, but I think for the sake of the children, it's still a good idea that they were able to come here, and now hopefully, all of them will become citizens. Now, my problem is that the oldest of my sister is now over age. When I filed my petition, of course, the first one in line was the oldest. Now he is 24 years old. And so he is left behind. The three brothers are here, and the parents are here. Now the oldest is left behind. And this really is bringing a lot of distress to my sister and her husband, and of course to the brothers too. So, anyway, my niece tried to apply for a tourist visa just to be able to visit the family here, just recently actually. He and his girlfriend, applied for tourist visas. And guess what? It did not take 5 minutes when he was asked, "Where's your family?" And when he said that his family are already here in the United States, the interviewer immediately said, "That's it, the interview is over, you're not getting a visa." And I thought that is so unfair, and yet the girlfriend who also applied, she was interviewed, and when she was asked, "Where's your family?" They're all in the Philippines. Right away, she was given a visa to come as tourist. Why is it that when there is already a filing for, like a petition for you, you are not able to come to visit? And I think that is so unfair. Don't you think? Yes. That is so unfair. But anyway, in the case of my brother too, I petitioned for him, and of course his family, at the same time with my sister. Right now, we are still waiting to hear from immigration, what would happen. But I already filed for the application for the visas and everything, but I've never heard from them now for almost a year. So actually, it's about time for me to follow up and see what is going on. But I am really distressed with the case of my niece right now. So I hope there is help out there, that I hope that my nephew can come, because it's really so distressing when one of your children, I could imagine being a mother myself, to have one of your children so far away when everybody else is here. And he is 24, he has a girlfriend, and of course, he would also want to, maybe, I don't know if he's planning to get married soon, but I am afraid. I keep telling him, I said, don't marry, because once you get married, I said, the least, your chance of coming to the U.S. will not happen. The more it will be more difficult, I said. So now he's in that dilemma, because he will be 25 years old, and now he keeps calling and asking my sister, do you think there's a chance for me to come? So I don't know what is the chance, and I don't know who is the person who will tell me what is the chance of him being able to come over. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Bessie. I think many of us know within the Filipino communities as well as in other communities that extended family is really critical. And, it's a very heartbreaking story to know that folks are waiting decades to reunite. So at this point, I'd like to pass over to Ms. Yai Hoa Ryan, who is from the Vietnamese community, and she will share some of the things that she has heard and also has been touched by personally with the impact of family immigration.
Good afternoon, everyone. I've been here since 1971, and take me for a little while before I become U.S. citizen, because Vietnam, everyone knows, is a war-torn country. That time when I left Vietnam, there's still war going on. And in 1975, the war began, start, and began the people, either the boat people, the refugee, whatever it is, they come to the United States. In my case, that I came to this country is because I work for the United States government, and I came here, of course, like everyone else, you fall in love and the rest of the stuff that follow with that. But anyway, in 1977, that after the war over for my country in Vietnam was really terrible, really bad. Because the execution, jail, and everything else, because I am here in the United States, and I have other sisters that live here in the United States. And my family back there still suffer with all that, so I had no choice but petition my family to come here. I have to become U.S. citizen, then I petition my family to come. Take almost 20 years before that my family tried to come here. They're not able to come, even to come to this country, because many people come, but just some family able to come, not everyone able to. So anyway, in 1993, I finally come back to Vietnam because my father almost died. I didn't hear from my family almost 20 years too. So my brother one day called somehow, some way that we had a real connection to get back to me that my father dying. So I make an effort to go home to visit my family very first time in almost 20 years. So anyway, when I get home and I see how devastated my country was, and that time I definitely have to continue to do somehow, some way to bring my family here. Finally, in 1997, my first family in February 1977, and my first people come to my family, my brother. Since 1997 until 2000 something, I able to bring 30-some people to come to this country. But while we waiting, when I petitioned my family to come here, some of those children of my brother and sister, they're smart. They're only a couple of years old. By the time they get here, they're over 21 years old. Now they're not able to come with the family. So they have to stay back in Vietnam. Right now, I do have 3 family members. That one of my brother's child, that girl, that time she just out of college, and she just there, 21 years old, not married, anything, just all by herself. She have to stay because that she over 21. Then my other sister had 2 family members, 2 children, 1 boy and 1 girl, have to stay behind because they over 21 as well. Meanwhile, we're waiting for them to come in, and we able to file petition for them when their family got here. So when family got here, they trying to file that. Since then, now 16 years go by, they still not able to come here. You know how it is when you had talk about a family, you're not, like my brother have a girl stay there behind. You tell them not married, but they get an old, they cannot stay, not to be married, so they got married, they got children. Even today, they could not come because now your children got married, they had family, you can come. Same with others too, so they divide because the program, we sponsor family, that the family united, but yet they separate family in a way. It's because they don't allow some family member, how hard it and painful for these people are. 2 of my sister and brothers still trying to wait for their children to come. So we got to do something with this law for somehow to proceed a little bit faster for this family member like that to come here. And some people, they get file the paper, they're able to come very easy. I don't know why. Maybe they pay off somehow. But the family, like my brother and sister, and my niece and nephew, not able to come here.
Thank you, Yai Hoa. I think Yaiwa's story.
And beside that, I also, not only that my family member, and I involved to work with community, many community people, not only the Vietnamese, because I work with the court and I work with the lawyer and so on and so forth. Many people have called, as a matter of fact, just today, we have family just call me, they having hard time to bring their sibling over here because that. Just today, they got emailed to us just about a couple hours ago. So that we got to do something, Michael, and every one of us have to do. Maybe we go to Washington, D.C. to protest. What do you think?
Well, that's actually an interesting transition because if you, in your seats, you will see an opportunity on April 10th. There will be Asian communities and Hispanic Latino communities from all across the country that will be converging in D.C. And we actually are going to have an opportunity here to organize a van to take folks. So if you are interested, please let Ray, raise your hand, Ray. Let her know. There's limited seats available, but it's free. So if you'd like to go with us to that, please contact Ray.
Yes, we do need a head count, so if you are going, so please let me know, and I will write down your info so that we can contact you. The van is coming from Michigan, and they pick us up, and then we're going to DC.
Thank you. The other thing,
Question: how many people in the van?
Right now we booked 15
15,
seats.
no, I mean the van. How many people? 15 van seat.
Yeah,
That's
and
only few people.
I think 5 people from Michigan are going.
So we have about 10 here.
Yeah, but if we have like more people, we can contact them and ask them to like book a bigger one.
And you will be leaving on 10?
yes, and then more information I think Ray can provide as far as the pickup time and location. So if you're interested, please let Ray know. I think the stories that Yaihua and Bessie, and then also in terms of the statistics that Jayashree provided, really talks about we need to approach the new reform on immigration in a humane way. I just want to reemphasize the economic argument for family immigration. As Jayashree mentioned, a lot of the entrepreneurship activities occur because of family visas and family immigration. And here in the Cleveland metro area, just to give you some statistics, in terms of businesses run by Asian Americans, we are generating $6.7 million. And that is just second to white Americans here in this Cleveland metro area. In addition to that, we employ 51,478 Ohioans in the Cleveland area. Also second in terms of race groups that employ people here with jobs. And lastly, in terms of payroll, we have a payroll of $1.371 million. And then again, we're second from the white Americans in terms of the payroll revenues. So you can see in terms of the economic impact of our communities here in northeastern Ohio and the importance of having a humane, comprehensive immigration reform that addresses this gap with the family immigration policy. So at this point, I'd like to open it up because I think there's folks who have some interest and questions. And so we have a wonderful panelists here that could hopefully answer some questions. So we'll go ahead and take Q&A. State your name.
My name is George Burke. I was Director of International Programs at Cleveland State for 30 years and been involved with international students for over 45 years. So I'm well aware of the immigration rules and policies. But the one question I've got is, do we know where all of our representatives from the state of Ohio and senators stand on these issues? Who needs pressure and who doesn't need pressure? I don't know if anybody has any answers to that question, but that's, so where does Sherrod Brown stand? Where does Rob Portman stand? Where do the existing House people stand? So that we know where, we should be writing our letters to.
So at this point, the information that I can provide for you is that we do not know where Senator Brown or Senator Portman stand on this particular issue. However, we do encourage everyone to reach out to your legislators. also your representatives as well. Certainly Speaker Boehner is an important person to encourage, to understand policy issues. But, you know, we did reach out to Senator Portman's office and Senator Brown's office. Both of them were unable to attend due to scheduling conflict.
Well, I know the Moshifa's office is very much in the support the immigrant, and I believe there are some of her family, her people there were here today. I just saw she walk in from, yeah.
So
I can see
Ariella from
Ariella
Marsha
right
Fudge's
there.
office
Yeah,
is here.
She here, so the,
Thank you.
yeah.
Do you want to say anything, or do you have a question or anything?
I don't have a question, but I can, speak for the Congresswoman and say that she definitely supports comprehensive immigration reform, and not one component for her is family. So she's really supportive of not separating families. So I can.
And I would suggest we should start like an advocacy group, and people can sign in. And as I get information, I can send the links to this email group. And all you have to do is click on the link. It's all written there. And you can just send your name, or if you want to do a personal email, all the emails are already typed in. So we have convenient way to be part of the advocacy group.
And also, just on your chair, there was information about sharing your story with the White House. For all of you who do not know, the White House is very supportive of comprehensive immigration reform and the importance of the family immigration provisions within that. So if you have personal stories, please share them with the White House. There's information about how to do that. And those stories are very important. I mean, the data is important, but those intimate stories, those touching stories about families that are trying to reunite for 2 decades or more, those are what really drives policy in our country. So it's really important. Before I forget, I know that there might be some few other questions. I do want to send out a thank you to the Filipino community who helped to organize this very quickly and provided this space here at the Philippine Cultural Center. They include the Association of Philippine Physicians of Ohio, Philippine American Society of Ohio, Philippine Nurses Association of Ohio, and also the Philippine American Ministry. So they were all very generous in their members in terms of offering this space on such short notice. So if we can take some additional questions. Yes, please.
The particular legislation you're looking at is actually taking something away, as I understand it.
Right.
Okay. Now, there's a broader effort to try to have legislation that would be more inclusive and would provide a way for a lot of people who are here undocumented, for them eventually to find a way to becoming legal and eventually citizens. Do you know anything about when such a legislation, an overall bill, might be introduced, or are they still working on that?
My understanding is that that's work in progress. So again, there's no active legislation out right now. The Senate is evaluating, but what we're hearing, like again, there was a story recently. I don't remember the citation, but it was a national newspaper that had cited that the Senate is considering this provision within the family immigration area. So that's as much as we have at this point. As far as the other part around pathways to citizenship for the undocumented, certainly there's more details that will come up, but at this point I don't have that information.
And it's also very important to emphasize that people who are waiting in line and abiding by law should be given a preferential treatment, mainly because otherwise you are encouraging people to cross the border. The sibling category from Mexico, people in Mexico, they're waiting September 1, 1996. People who had applied in 96 are getting their green cards now. Now, if you take away this, what's going to happen? So it's very important that we have a legal system in place so people can come into the United States in compliance with the law.
Any other questions?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
When I called the immigration, actually asking about my nephew's case, They mentioned something about this child protection law, that supposedly is in effect. But I would like you to tell me, how will this help my case, as far as my petition for my nephew?
You'll have to have your approval notice, dates, and things like that to calculate the number of days that are grandfathered into that act. So if your nephew falls within those days, then he will be part of the Child Protection Status Act.
And this is related to the DREAM
Yeah.
Act.
And it depends on how long the case was pending and things like that. So what they try to do is to make amends, because the bureaucracy was taking so long, they try to make amends by giving you certain days back. So that depends on the actual calculation.
Is there a way you can email me so I would know something about these calculations, because I really have no idea.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
When you hear these stories of families waiting 20 years and all these problems, it seems like such, every issue has two sides, but it seems like such a no-brainer on the one side. What are the stumbling blocks, and what have they been to this problem? Is it bureaucracy? Is it perception that jobs are going to be lost? Is it racism? Is it ignorance? What it seems so skewed to one side that it just makes sense to let these families come and be together. What is the stumbling block? What has it been?
It's mainly because there is a quota system. So there's only so many people can be allowed into the United States. And that's one of the things that will be addressed under the new law is how do you change to this? And one of the discussion is you have employment-based employees waiting in line. The corporations need them to work. So they want to take the sibling category and married children of United States citizens category and give those 90,000 visas to the employment-based category. But the people who are standing in the employment-based category would not be interested in immigrating if they cannot be reunited with their children. So there has to be a balanced way of doing this.
And weren't the quotas set in the 1960s?
1990, it was sometime in 1990.
Again, I want to thank our panelists, if we can give them a round of applause again. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe, if you have your last question, please
Sure.
go ahead.
Well, I'm Joe Meisner. I'm an attorney here in Cleveland, and I've worked on immigration issues since the Indo-Chinese in the 1970s. But I thought, to carry on with the question that Mr. Hansen asked, that there's also a political aspect to all of this. And I think one party, I'm not going to say who they are, but I think they're very concerned that the more people come in from other countries, the more they'll find themselves cast in a minority role. I think that's one partial issue. And I had kind of a solution to that. My idea was that when you come, that you come as twos, and one of you pledge that you'll vote for one party, and the other one pledges that they'll vote for the other party, and this way both parties will be happy that they're both picking up new dues-paying members. So I thought that could be part of our reform efforts.
Thank you for that comment. Well, again, thank you all for joining us at this event, and I want to again thank our panelists for being here, as well as the Filipino community who's been very supportive, and I know this is a very important issue to them, as well as to other Asian communities here in the greater Cleveland area. So we'll go ahead and adjourn, and if you have any questions, we'll be around. I think the panelists will be around as well. Thank you all.